بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم نحمده ونصلي على رسوله الكريم. So inshallah, we'll be continuing with our Mustalah al-Hadith, Nukhbatul Fikar. So we mentioned last time about ta'an of the Rawi. If a Rawi has any of these qualities that make his reliability or his credibility questionable. And we also discussed mukhalafa and ilal. That's where we had finished last year before the term had finished. What we're discussing today is Jahala. Actually, we're discussing Jahala. Not ilal, it's not mukhalafa, we're discussing Jahala. Now, if you look at the hadith again, we say hadith can either be maqbool or it can be mardood. A hadith is mardood. When is a hadith mardood? When there's a saqt in the ruwat, one narrator is missing. When a narrator is missing, then usually the rule of thumb is we don't know who this narrator is, therefore we can't accredit him, therefore we won't be able to verify who this person is. And the saqt can either be an obvious saqt, or you can have and this obvious saqt we had with mursal, we have mu'allaq, we had mu'adal, and we had munqati. We discussed all of those before. Then we had saqt khafi, and in saqt khafi we had mudallas, and we had mursal khafi. Yes? Then we're on to ta'an. And in ta'an, we said in ta'an, one of the reasons of ta'an is kadhib, he's a liar, he's accused of lying, tuhmatul kadhib, or it is fisq, transgression, bid'ah, that will come up later on, and right here, jahala. What does jahala mean? That we do not have enough information about a rawi to determine whether he's credible or not. Are you following? And then some of them have come before, as will come later on, inshallah. Right. So we have jahala. So again, let's have a before we go into the text, let's understand here. Hadith is transmission is based upon. We basically want to we have the ilm of hadith because we want to make sure the Prophet has said these words. If we were living the Prophet ﷺ's time in front of him, whatever he says, we'll take it. You don't have a da'if or a weak hadith or the Prophet said it. This is his statement. Then khalas. As time went by, there are people within. There's now a chain. So now we have to make sure that we're verifying the people in this chain, so we don't get any wrong things creeping into our religion. Correct? So how do we do that? We make sure that we know every single person who's telling us, narrating from this. Now, we can only verify somebody and say they're authentic, not authentic, they're questionable, reliable, not reliable, if we have what? Information regarding them. If we don't have information regarding them, we can't do what? Form a picture. I can't say, like if I say, somebody said, I don't know if to trust you or not because I don't know who somebody is. So in terms of not knowing about a rawi, or a narrator, there are a few perspectives. Number one is lam yusam. Like they haven't even named this person. Qala shaykhun, qala fulanun, akhbarani fulanun. They just said, somebody told me. So, okay, now, generally speaking, you may be able to find, okay, you know what this person is in your mind, you haven't mentioned his name for whatever reason. Now, I can't verify this, can I? The later scholars can't verify, because we don't know who this person is, so we can't say he's got a good memory, he's preserved it, he's authentic, he wouldn't lie, he wouldn't make mistakes, because we don't know who this person is. So in that way, it's majhul. We don't know who this person is at all. You understand? So when you have a rawi like this, it's called a mubham. What's it called? Mubham. That somebody says, حدثنا شيخ عن رجل عن امرأة من بني فلان. So woman, person, all of these are what? All of these are now what? It's called mubham. So when the person is not named at all, what do you call this? Mubham. The next level we have is what? سمي بغير ما اشتهر أو يتميز. The person has been mentioned in the text, in the hadith, is mentioned, that person. However, it's either not his most common name, or that name doesn't give us enough information or allow us to it doesn't allow us to come to a conclusion who this person is. Are you following me? So for example, if I mention somebody's name, they got a name that people don't know them by. Yes? So let's say, for example, say, okay, Ibn Ismail is not here today. So who's this? We don't call people by Ibn Lubi, like we know them by first names. So who's Ibn Ismail? Who is this person? What are we talking about? So I've named. So in the first scenario, you haven't even named them at all. Second person, you've named them, but we don't know, because like that name, we don't know a person with that name. Because obviously in the very early parts of Islam, they used to call them by their first name. They have a kunya, by their grandfather's name, a laqab. You might say, for example, you might say, okay, you might call me Hashim. You might call me Ibn Ismail. You might call me Ibn Hashim, because my grandfather's name is Hashim. You might call me Abu Abdullah. So if you come by a non-famous name or non-common name, it's like, okay, you've named that person, but that name doesn't help us. We don't know who the person is. Do you understand? That is called what? Muhmal. You've named them, the ulama refer to as muhmal. You've named them, but that name doesn't give us any benefit. Either it's a not famous name or that name doesn't really help us because we don't. Yes? You understand? That's called muhmal. And the reason we need to know who, because we can only clarify or verify a person if we know who he is. Another example is summiya walam yu'raf haluhu. You've named him. Yeah, I know. We know there's somebody called John Smith. But we don't know about John Smith. Like, we know him. You follow? Or, and in here can be two scenarios. Majhulul ayn or majhulul hal. Here, this is a mistake here. It's either majhulul ayn or majhulul hal. What does majhulul ayn mean? Majhulul ayn means, yeah. Like, you name him and you say, okay, there's a John Smith that lives on this street. So we know this, we got a name. So it's not that we haven't named him, we've named him. That's his passport name, his driving license name. But we have no information, like that's it. We don't know anything else about him. Like, if there's a name, but that name doesn't ring a bell. That's called majhulul ayn. Like, okay, that name is there, but we don't know who this person is. We got a name, we got a date of birth, we got a name, or we got information, but we just don't know who it is. Like, or do you know a person? What's that? Do you know a person? What's that? That's what? Mubham. Yes? And if I say, do you know Ibn Abdul Haq? What do you say? It's Muhammad, that name, but we don't know about Ibn Haq. If I say to you, oh, do you know Aqil? Maulana Aqil? What would you say? Like, I don't know. Like, I know the name, but I don't know who that person refers to. I want to see, we know that person, but we don't, like, he came on this and we know who he is. I know he looks like, but I don't know who he's like. Like, is he good? Is he a teacher? Is he Maulana? Is he Qadi? Is he Hafiz? Is he pious? Not pious? Is he a liar? Is he a drug dealer? We don't know anything about him. These are different levels of knowing somebody. So no, first you know the name, or you don't know a name. That's like, we don't, nothing. You know a name, but that name is like an alias or something that is like not common. Nothing is, you can know a name, but you don't have a picture like that. It's just a name. It doesn't really have much detail of it. And once you have a name, we know it, but we can't form a real profile. You understand? You follow? If I say, for example, do you want to invest in a company? Which company? Yes? You want to invest in some weird name. It's like, wow. So if you have holding companies in it, like the company will operate under a bigger company in it. So you use that name, like, I don't know what this company is. Say, oh, it's Tesla. So, okay, you know Tesla. Tesla, like, everyone knows Tesla, innit? Tesla or Amazon. And what is that? Okay, I don't know. Sylvan Avenue Sharing. Okay, Sylvan Avenue Stocks. It's like, okay, Sylvan Avenue Stocks. I don't got the name, but don't know. Is it a new company? What company? Is it a scam? Is it not a scam? We haven't got a clue. And then what is it? Okay, we see it on the website, on the government website, but there's no, we never file any reports, never file any who's the owner. It's just nothing. That's now like, you get what I'm saying? Different levels of knowledge. So regarding the ruwat, we need, so if you have unknown narrators, we can't form a ruling regarding them. So we need to at least have to know who they name, who they are, and some information regarding them before we come to the conclusion whether they are authentic or not. Does that make sense? Yes? If you look at a text here now, we have here, Thumma al-Jahala. Jahala doesn't mean the person is Jahil. It means we are Jahil regarding him. Yes? Thumma al-Jahalatu. Then the next problem or the next ta'an of a rawi, it's not ta'an in him, it's ta'an in us, kind of. Now we don't know him. So he might be really great, so we don't know who he is. Is وَسَبَبُهَا أَنَّ الرَّاوِي قَدْ تَكْثُرُ نُعَاتُهُ فَيُذْكَرُ بِغَيْرِ مَشْتُهِرَ. I think I missed it. Yeah. So what can happen to say sometimes, it's not Muhammad, it's actually it's supposed to be Muhammad here really. It's Al-Muhammad. It's actually Muhammad. What's this? The reason of one reason of a rawi being unknown, يَكْثُرُ نُؤُوتُهُ. He's got many names. He's known as Ibn Ismail. by his father's name, by his Dada is his grandfather's name, Ibnu, Ibnu, Ibnu Hashim, by his son's name, Abu Abdullah. So got so many names, like when you say, like, who is this person? فَيُذْكَرُ بِغَيْرِ مَشْتُهِرَ بِهِ لِغَرَضٍ. And for some reason or the other, he was known by another name. You can saying, you mention another name which we don't know how it is. You following? وَصَنَّفُوا فِيهِ الْمَوَادِ. This is like basically a hashia, a footnote. Because we have scenarios where, what happens? We have scenarios where a person may have a name mentioned by a name in a sanad which is not common. So the ulama have written books called, and the topic, you have, okay, i'rab, sarf. So in hadith, lugha. So in hadith is one fun or one little sub-branch called muwaddih tawdih. What did he do? A book called al-muwaddih. Al-muwaddih is when a book that clarifies, okay, this person's name here. So sometimes the muhaddith in his book himself, he'll clarify. I'll give you an example later on. Or sometimes other people have written books. On the job of this book is just to clarify ambiguous names in certain ahadith. So let's say, for example, if in Abu Dawood is some ambiguous names, he wrote a muwaddih about the ambiguous ruwat in Abu Dawood. Do you understand? Are you following me? Make sense? Muwaddih, clarification, tawdih, clarification. So it becomes a muwaddih, is like, okay, they've written books. The muwaddih is actually like name of the book, al-muwaddih. A book or books, like they call it muwaddih books, books that clarify the name of ambiguous narrators. Like, okay, in Khatib Baghdadi's got one book, and you find books like this. Okay. So, they have written, Sannafu, they have compiled, Musannif, author, they have authored, compiled books. Yes, so far so good. Next. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So he's mentioned by a name which he is not known by, not famous for. بِغَيْرِ مَشْتُهِرَ بِهِ, in a name by which he is not known. لِغَرَضٍ, for a certain purpose. Whatever that purpose, maybe a good purpose, a bad purpose. But for some reason or the other, he's not mentioned by that name. Okay. Next one we have majhulul ayn. He says, وَقَدْ يَكُونُ مُقِلًّا. أَقَلَّ يُقِلُّ, to make less. Meaning, he's a narrator who has narrated less ahadith. فَلَا يَكْثُرُ. It's like, for example, if you wanted to learn, imagine it, if you were living in that time, where would you go to learn hadith? Which person would you go to learn hadith? Huh? A muhaddith. He's well known that he narrates hadith. So you have many, so the muhaddith will have many students. Like Imam Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik, have many students of fiqh. Because they were known for their fiqh. So I want to learn fiqh, go by Imam Abu Hanifa, go by Imam Malik, Imam Shafi, they have many students. Yes? Are you following? Yes? So you have many students. But sometimes somebody's muqil, like maybe he wasn't like a full-time dedicated to hadith, but he maybe had financial difficulties, so he knew a few hadith, but he wasn't like well known for his hadith. So he's muqillan. So he had to work, or maybe he has some kind of illness or whatever. He's not well, but so he has narrated hadith, but he's not narrated many hadith. He's muqil. He narrates few hadith. So obviously the students that go to him will be what? Only a few students might know about him. It happens sometimes, even in other, for example, you have a very, you're on YouTube, you've got channels, people think, oh, you're really good because you've got YouTube channels. But maybe other people who are not on YouTube, but they're much better. You're following? But because it's fame. So because of fame, people might go to that person. Another person is also a narrator, but he's muqil. So not many people have gone to him. So فَلَا يَكْثُرُ الْأَخْذُ عَنْهُ. So the people narrating from him are very few. They're not many. So now, like, if you say, okay, do you know Fulan Madrasa? Yes, everyone knows that Madrasa. It's world. Do you know Medina University? Yes. Because why? There are millions of, hundreds of thousands, not millions, but thousands of students at Medina University. Do you know Asad University? There are probably millions of graduates over the last centuries. Yes? Everyone knows Asad University. Do you know Darul Uloom Deoband? Yes, everyone knows Darul Uloom Deoband. I said, do you know this small institute in the city? He's like, no. Because very few have gone to that person or that sheikh that to study. So now, I can't recommend. I don't know anything. I can't recommend or I can't recommend it. I can't say no. Don't go there. I don't know about it. Do you understand? So they call this wahdana, one off. We say Urdu ikka dukka, or in English handful. So if you've got very few people narrating from him, it's like we know his name. Okay, we know, for example, okay, Ibrahim narrates from Sheikh Zubair. But we don't know the Sheikh Zubair al-Makki, for example. Like Ibrahim narrates from him, and he's went to him, but we don't know much about Ibrahim, Sheikh Zubair al-Makki. He is his teacher, we know that, but I don't know him. I can't tell he's a good person, he's a bad person, he's a good qari, a good nahwi, a good mufassir, a good muhaddith, I don't know. Do you understand? Make sense? You follow? Yes? وَصَنَّفُوا فِيهِ الْوِحْدَانِ. Some say al-Wahdan. My copy has Wihdan, I think it's Wahdan. Meaning what? A book of Wahdan. What does that mean? I think Wihdan is wrong, because Wahdan, even in the poem of Hamasa, طَارُوا إِلَيْهَا, something wa Wahdana. Individual. Yes? زُرَّافَاتٍ وَوَحْدَانَ. Individual. Yes? So صَنَّفُوا فِيهِ الْوَحْدَانِ. They have written Wahdan. What does Wahdan mean? Books where they mention, okay, Ibrahim's got one sheikh, his name is Zubair ibn Makki, and they try to find out more about him. So we have these one-off people that not well-known muhaddith, but they have hadith. Maybe they took it from one person and they weren't well-known, or they were living in a faraway city, or whatever reason that people never went to them that much. They have written books about this. Yes? And again, it's hard to say, well, who did you take from? So basically, we need to have enough information about that person to decide whether we can take from him or not. Okay? أو لا يسمى اختصارا. He's not even named at all. He's not named at all. وفيه مبهمات. And وصنفوا فيه مبهمات. They got a book called Al-Mubhamat or Mubham or things like that. So they've written books about Mubham. Like, okay, in Abu Dawud, the third hadith, An Shaykhin. So they said this Shaykh is really Fulan. A'mash narrates from An Rajulin. This Rajul is really Qasim ibn Muhammad ibn Abi Bakr radiyallahu ta'ala anhu. Funny examples. Yes? So then it's called Mubhamat. So in the Mubham, what do we have? They've written books trying to remove this Mubhamat. Okay, here it says Rajul, but if you look at other narrations, we can find out who this person is. Sometimes you don't find out. Do you understand? And Ikhtisar, maybe they don't name him for whatever reason. To make it for brevity, to make it shorter. Are you following? Achha. ولا يقبل المبهم ولو أبهم بلفظ التعديل على الأصح. Let me explain to you first. Let's say I want to tell you a story. I say, you know what? One of my friends is really close to Sheikh Sudais, Hafidahullah. He's very Sheikh to Fulan Mufti. He's very Sheikh Fulan. And I trust him. He told me this story. So who's my Sheikh to you? What is it? Huh? It's Mubham. I haven't said his name. But what have I done? What have I done of him? Ta'adil, innit? I've said he's a good person. Now he's mentioned. Now you can see the ulama differ, innit? What would some people say? What would you say if I told you that? Would you trust me? You just say no, because if you say I don't trust you, then you get in trouble. If I said to you, my friend who's a reliable source, he told me this story. Would you believe me? You sure? You won't believe me. You say, nah, you just make up stuff. Why would you believe me? Because you trust me and you know me. But if you told one of your friends, like I said, let's say I tell you like a really hard to, like a very difficult story. You believe this happened. You tell one of your friends, but they believe you. Because why? Because they say, well, you heard me teach from somebody. They don't know me to trust me enough, and they don't know who I'm narrating from. You see why people have different ideas, perspectives. You get it? So he's saying, in the Hajjah is saying here, the Mubham, Al-Mubham, وَلَا يَقْبَلُ الْمُبْهَمْ. A Mubham Rawi, we want to accept this. وَلَوْ أُبْهِمَ بِلَفْظِ التَّعْدِيلِ. Even if you have mentioned him, you have left it ambiguous with a word of ta'dil. Say, حَدَّثَنِي ثِقَةٌ حَدَّثَنِي مَنْ أَثِقُ بِهِ حَدَّثَني أَمِينٌ حَدَّثَني صَادِقٌ. So even if you say that, you will not accept it. But you understand why? Later on, you will not accept it. And the earliest scholar might accept it. Because I know that person, example, I know Maulana Hashim, so, and he said somebody who you trust, and he's quite particular. You might accept that, and the person will like, I don't know you, and your sheikh, and your teacher, and your fulan, I don't believe that. You get what I'm saying? This way you have to understand as well, a bit of side note. Sometimes what happens as well, is that you might find a scenario, you say, well, Imam Abu Hanifa's teacher is weak. Imam Shafi's got a weak teacher here, he's da'if. What's the issue here? That you're coming hundreds of years later, and you say, okay, we learned about Imam Shafi's teacher, this fulan teacher, and he's weak. Imam Shafi himself says what? He's strong, or this, so, because Imam Shafi knows him. And the news you got regarding him, maybe you might say he's not strong, or he's got a problem, but Imam Shafi knows him. Imam Shafi is Imam Shafi. And Abu Hanifa was not any like a kind of dopey guy that he would get duped so easily. So you might think his teachings are weak, but Abu Hanifa was a faqih and he used to analyze people, and to him, if that person was authentic, and he verified his chain himself. You know what I'm saying? He wasn't, if he wasn't so dopey that you have so much ulama gathering in his majlis, and he's a dopey person, you have to be somebody who is very credible for people to come and sit with you and discuss things with you. So you may think later on, 100 years, 200 later on, that according to our sources, they've said that he's a weak person, but he may have said, no, it's not. I know him. What he said in his, you get what I'm saying? You can see why it's not that simple of saying da'if or weak, or it's like a lot of it is to do with persons, opinions, relations, context, and side issue. Anyway, we'll do it more later on. Yes? فَإِن سُمِّيَ, if you name him, وَانْفَرَدُ وَاحِدٌ أَنْهُ فَمَجْهُولُ الْعَيْنِ. Let's give names. So if you have a person, you name him, but only one person, Ibrahim Sheikh Zubair al-Makki, only you narrate from him, only nobody else amongst us know him. He might be well known in the other places. Not that nobody in the world knows him. His wife knows him, his children know him, his friends know him, his family knows him. But from the school of the ulama or the school of our friends, only Ibrahim knows the Sheikh Zubair al-Makki. He might be making it up, we don't know. I'm not going to accuse you, yeah. You got Sheikh Zubair al-Makki as a teacher. No? Why you look a bit sad? Because I'm making you a weak narrator? Yes? So what happens here now? So now we say here, he's Majhulul Ain. We know his name, we know this Sheikh Zubair al-Makki. I hope that Sheikh Zubair al-Makki watching this and say, oh, why are you calling me da'if for? Yes, so Sheikh Zubair al-Makki. Yes, so we say, you're Sheikh Zubair al-Makki. To us, he's Majhulul Ain. We know his name, but only you, we don't have a profile from it. Are you following? أو اثنان فصاعدا. If you got two people, no, okay, yeah. Both of you went to Umrah with him together, both of you met him. It's two or more people. Again, he's put numbers down, but sometimes you don't have to exactly, if it's one or two, it's like, you get what I'm saying, it's like, where you get an idea, so it's a bit flexible, but he's put one and two, but it doesn't have to be exactly one or two. If enough people know him, not like a large, not like, he's still a muqil, only one or two. But what happens? وَلَمْ يُوَثَّقْ. And Ibrahim doesn't say, oh, he's good, he's weak, he's strong, he's a great scholar, he's not a great scholar, he's a qadi, not a qadi. None of you two, so if only you narrate, you call it what? Majhulul ayn. If both of you narrate from him, if you say he's thiqa, both of you say thiqa, or people have said thiqa, then that's like a normal person now. But if nobody's like quoted him, so a person who's not well known, and only very few people have narrated from him, if it's one or so, you call it what? Majhulul ayn. Or people have narrated, but they haven't said anything good or bad about him. You will say he's hidden, mastur. We don't know. Is he good or bad? Because if he was that good, then many people narrated from him, isn't it? If he was that good, many people may have narrated from him. He'll become a muqthir, not a muqil. So if he's a muqil and you only got a few people, none of them anything bad about him. They're jar on him. You say he's mastur. His hal, his status is kind of like hidden for now. We don't know him. And it's also called majhulul hal. Are you following? Let's go again. So what we're saying here that we need to know about the ruwat. When we come to know about the ruwat, that's when we can come to pass a judgment. Is he sahih? Is he thiqa? Is he not thiqa? Is he got zab? No. So the worst case scenario, you don't know, it's not even been named. And that's called mubham. That's called what? Mubham. And people written books to try to clarify the mubham. Next level up is what? We have a name, not a proper name, ambiguous name. That's called what? Muhmal. Another level is we have a name, but that person is a muqil. Yes? If you got a muqil, then you say, well, who narrates him? How many narrate him? One or two? If it's one, we say what? It's what? Majhulul ayn. If you got more than two, but nobody's really verified him, then you call that what? Majhulul hal or mastur. And you got a muqthir, Imam Malik. Nobody's going to talk about Imam Malik is tawfiq. Imam Bukhari doesn't say, it's like someone from him, that's like, it's muqthir. Do you understand? And you got muqthir, or you can even have a muqthir who's da'if. But if you got muqthir, then we won't be majhul, we'll know about him. Are you following me? Yes? You following? This is an example of Abu Dawud. Let's look at this one here. We have حدثنا موسى بن إسماعيل حدثنا وحيب قال حدثنا عمرو بن يحيى عن أبي زيد عن معقل ابن أبي معقل الأسدي قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم الحديث أن أبو داود said وأبو زيد هو مولى بني ثعلبة. What do you think is happening here? What is Abu Dawud rahimahullah? What is he saying or why is he saying it? Think about it, tell me. So what we'll say here that because Abu Zayd is like a kunya and it's not really clear, obvious, he's Abu Zayd. So Abu Dawud himself says he's from Banu Sa'daba. So when you say that much, you'll know. Do you understand? So he's put that bit of information in here. So now this is called what? This bar is what? Mubham. You see? And if it,
After you clarified it or before?
no, before clarified it. After you mentioned name, it's not clear. It's clear. And then here, Abu Zayd hada fi jahala. He says it's majhul. Why is he majhul? Lam yarwi anhu ghayru amrin. What does that mean? What kind of majhul is he? Majhul al-ayn and majhul al-hal. Majhul al-ayn. So even though we have a name, Mawla Bani Tha'laba, only one person narrates from him. So we say he's majhul al-ayn. So example that we see here. Okay, subhanallah wa bihamdihi subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika wa nashhadu an la ilaha illa anta wa nastaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk.